'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood.
And we're live.
And we're back.
Welcome to the Underdog Journey. My name is West. This guy is David. This guy back here is Matt Harmon. And we are here to have a conversation about conversations. So David, I think the entire time that we do this, we need to speak like NPR guys. And so, David, how do you feel today? How are you feeling?
I feel like I should be talking about George Norrie all of a sudden.
NPR. Who can listen to NPR without falling asleep? And he's
I
back
don't
there doing
know.
some weird dance. I don't like what's happening right now. I'm just trying to perk up your end. This is why we don't invite Matt anywhere.
This is the danger for those of you guys who are deciding, if you're getting into a podcast or a broadcast or a social post or social media presence, and you're wanting to take that and make that a business of your own.
Mm-hmm.
This is the danger of doing it live.
It is the dangers of live stream. So there's a lot of dangers of live stream.
Coast to coast AM with people dancing in the background.
But not the people you want to be dancing in the background.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not. If there's another person, or I'm just going to throw actually, I'm not going to throw a name out there. I'm just going to throw an idea out there. Different persons dancing in your background. Not complaining.
Fair enough. Don't mention names. I get it. So, David, as is tradition on the show, what are you drinking?
Well. All right, I think I've done most of that stuff over there. So I'm pretty simple tonight. I went with Guinness.
Nice.
And I have a couple of those here ready to go, and I've got another one, and actually I got two more over there. And I've still got the Wailing Wench, which I'm just keeping as kind of a decoration at this point.
That's a terrible way to speak about your significant other. No, I'm joking, Nikki. I know you're listening, and I was joking. That was a bad joke. Boy, I'm going to hear about that later. I apologize.
Yeah, you're going to hear about it. So the other thing I brought is the Branching Out Bottle Company, and I don't know what's in here.
We were talking about that earlier. I promise you it's an IPA. I would put money on that being an IPA.
Yeah, you're not going to get me to take that bet because I agree. I bet nickels to dollars, that's an IPA sitting in there.
Right. Literally. Never say dealer's choice if you don't like IPAs, because you're going to get an IPA.
It's an IPA. So I haven't opened it up yet. And I will. I'm drinking out of because we're coming up onto the most wonderful time of the year. I'm drinking from my Hofbrauhaus. This is a Hefeweizen glass for those of you guys in Rio Linda. This is the gold rimmed Hefeweizen glass. Hard to find these now. They're not as prevalent. They only had them for a limited time. And I haven't seen him back in a while. I'd like to see him back on the shelves because I wouldn't mind having 5 more of them.
Well, look, it's you need to start doing marketing for Hofbrauhaus. That's what it
is. Done.
Exactly. Can you imagine? So,
be great.
I am sticking with. I know we're 1 day away, but I'm going with Oktoberfest from Great Lakes Brewing, and which is really good. So those of you who don't know, Oktoberfest is a Marzen style lager. So just a super rich, nice, deep, dark flavor to your lager.
Yeah, good
Delicious.
malty beer.
Yes.
Good malty beer. Just good toasted malty beer. Just delicious.
Yeah, I could drink. They should have
And
Oktoberfest beers all year round. It's like Girl
it's
Scout
really
cookies.
hard.
You want them all year round, but they might not be as special if they're all year round.
Yeah. Well, another topic for another day. But the Meritzen beer, Marzen
I say
here
Marzen.
in the Ohio Valley area.
Yeah.
It's March. It's March beer. It's literally March. German.
Marzen, yeah.
So you can get it usually in that time frame, and then the harvest the harvest time of the year, which is what Oktoberfest
There you go.
was bound before the wedding of Prince Ludwig. So
And Ludwig, he knew how to do it right.
crazy. I mean, they threw a party so much that they're like, all right, we're no longer drinking because we're harvesting. We're drinking because bro over here is getting hitched.
And we can't forget about Matt Harmon. Matt, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking 10 cups.
This is why we don't ask Matt questions. And this is also probably why he was dancing behind me. He's been drinking all the bourbon.
I thought about drinking a bourbon. Actually, I got a new bottle of Diplomatico sipping rum. So,
nice.
I drank one. I mean, I like their middle tier. I drank the night that we had our Imagineer on the show, and then the one I got over here now is kind of the step up from it. But it came in a kit. I came with a kit with some glasses and everything.
Nice. Yeah, you've been getting into the rums, which is awesome.
So yeah, the rum's over there, but I decided I'm gonna stick to going back to my roots here and have myself a beer. Speaking of which, I better start pouring that beer and drinking it. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to do this show sober. And
we can't have that. We've seen how that ends, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
Yes.
So while you're pouring your beer, I got a couple news stories before we get to the main topic. So we're all aware of the Great Resignation and people leaving their jobs and shifting jobs, and there's the whole thing about quiet quitting right now, where you're not actually quitting your job, you're just not doing your work and essentially waiting to be fired. But it's called quiet quitting. Seriously, look it up. It's a thing. And that's what that is.
Yeah, I've read a handful of articles on that just this past week.
It's basically where people do the bare minimum not to get fired, and literally everybody knows exactly what's happening. So we're celebrating slacking, I guess, now. But, he's trying the mystery beer. Okay, so take a sip. Let us know.
No, I got to hold it up because it's going to shock you right out the gate.
Ooh, okay, well. Oh, is that a stout? Is that a porter?
That is not a IPA.
That is not an IPA.
Oh, it's porter.
What's the flavor
Damn
profile?
good porter at that. Jimmy Christmas.
Yeah, strong?
Yeah, sometimes it gets sometimes it's iffy because I'm not a coffee drinker.
Uh-huh. Oh, it's a coffee.
And
It's probably a... Go ahead.
It's not. Sometimes it's iffy. This one, I've got it in the very, very back end of it. I'm going to have to go back and find out what the hell she gave me because I could drink some more of that.
Is it a coffee? It's a coffee beer?
No.
There's no coffee.
Yeah, it's got a very good chocolate notes to it, man. It's a good beer. Wish I had more of them.
Interesting. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, find out what that is. I'm curious.
Yeah, good chocolate. I mean, it's got a touch of the coffee on the very, very back end, but for the most part, man.
Yeah,
that's a drinkable beer.
That sounds awesome.
I wish I'd have written down what the hell that was.
Then it wouldn't have been a mystery, though. So
yeah.
All right. So Matt says we got off of a great topic and to talk about your beer, and I disagree. I think we got off of one topic to talk about another great topic, which is David's beer.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, but the quiet quitting thing.
So this story isn't necessarily about quiet quitting. This is just talking about the trends that are happening and the weird things that are happening in the job market right now.
Okay.
So here's one that talks about job switching, and it says job switchers see the biggest raises. And this comes from LinkedIn News, written by Kate Chapman. Now, it's not the best written article. I'm actually not sure English is her first language, which is fine. I mean, that happens. But we're going to go through some of the details in this. Company payrolls grew by just 132,000 this month. I think that means 132,000 new paying roles, according to ADP research. But Americans who changed jobs saw a pay bump of more than twice as much as those who stayed. The Institute's newly revamped report, which includes wage data, showed job switchers saw increases of 16.1 in August on average, while the rest saw just 7.6. So
I mean, 7.6 is that's
that's
pretty hefty.
and 7.6 that's actually higher than a normal cost of living increase. So I would say that's even high for a lot of places. But
Yeah, a
to switch
7.6
jobs,
increase is huge. I mean, think about it. Think on an individual basis.
right?
A higher end raise is 2.5%, 3%. Now your standard raise is 1.5% to 2%, 1.5% 3%. Depending on what you are, if you've added skills, I'm just talking about your yearly kind of a pay increase. But 7.6 is
That's
pretty nice.
that's nothing to scoff at,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
16.1% to switch your job. I'll bet there's a lot of, and I'm kind of curious what this might stem from, because right now we're actually seeing a lot of companies laying people off. Could this be possibly people shifting from one position to shifting from one company to another after they've done layoffs and they realize, oh wait, we need a highly specialized person to fill this gap versus this team of 10 people? Or could it be just one of those quirks of the market right now?
Well, people are laying each other
Yeah.
off. Companies are laying off. Companies are laying off. I haven't been watching the news.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot. A
Yeah.
lot.
There's been some pretty. I mean, heck, what was it? Facebook has an algorithm that selects who is just a computer algorithm that selects who they're laying off.
No way, really?
Yeah. You know what?
That
While
is
we're sitting here, I'll look it up real
crazy.
quick.
Yeah, we got to. That's a news story. How are we not talking about that? That's nuts.
Well, Facebook's not really a company. It's almost
Go back to dancing. You know what? I'd rather have you dancing.
I'm an artist.
he goes to art school. I went to art school. What am I saying? That's great. It's a great
I'm going to
institution.
The same.
It's a
You
great.
went to the same.
It's a great institution, and we have some of the same teachers. So it's a great institution. So so the next thing, I'm actually glad you're here for this next story, Matt. This is actually a good story. So I'm really glad you're seeing this. And let me get through some of the headlines here. On the website fstoppers.com, there's an article that says the end of professional photography. Yeah, exactly.
That's I've been on this bandwagon for a long time. And there's another profession that I think needs to go the way of the dodo, but I want to hear this out, but then I'm going to share mine.
Fire protection.
Yeah, that's really on its way out the door.
There you go. So, as you'll notice, the one of the headlines on their video here is "These are not real people." So you can guess where this is going.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read the whole article.
We did a show on this is not a real person.com or whatever it is.
We did, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there. So I'm not going to read the whole article, and because this thing keeps making sounds, lots of ding dongs popping up during this because they love their pop up ads. But basically, the point of this article is due to AI generation of art, of models, of portraits, and the quality of photographs you get from a cell phone that literally can emulate the depth of field you get from ultra expensive lenses and camera equipment. And the phones have all of the software built in addition to the ability to post online instantly. Right. I mean, see this montage of people right here, or this collage of people right here. None of these people actually exist. None of these are real models.
How real models going to sell anything?
This right here is not a real person. We're going through. This picture of Brad Pitt isn't actually a picture of Brad Pitt. You can actually upload photos of different famous people, and AI can generate a completely unique photo of that person for you.
Yeah. And then you can take that photo, put it in another piece of software, and have it animated to say whatever you want it to say.
Absolutely. So, and some of the quality of these photos is fantastic. And it goes on to talk about not just photography, but it talks about artwork. So first we're gonna talk about we touched on this before, which is thispersondoesnotexist.com. So this website actually goes and generates completely unique, 100% realistic looking photos of people. This dude doesn't exist. This is AI generated.
Well, don't go there.
This lady is AI generated. Now, it doesn't always understand hats, and we talked about all the weird quirks.
Yeah, we've seen some of the weird quirks, and we created a drinking game after the show based upon this on this website. So it was all good things.
So this lady here does not exist, but I'm going to switch here real quick. So there's actually a couple of interesting things on this website here. It can also generate art.
No.
just randomly generated. Nah, that doesn't quite work.
Paint me
So the
like one of
artwork
your
doesn't
French
quite understand art.
ladies.
It does cats. There's a cats section where you can generate photos of cats that don't exist. That's not super great.
That's not, it's a cat.
Let's see if we can generate a new cat here. There we go. That cat does not exist. That should be a new website. This cat, it does. This cat does not exist.com.
I can see that it's not a real cat. That one's got 6 eyes.
So anyway, the point is, the whole article is talking about, and this is written by professional photographers on fstoppers.com, that professional photography is in real danger. And there's some stats here that I think are interesting. Smartphones are killing the camera market. In 2007, over 110 million digital cameras were sold, but in 2001, only 8.4 million were sold. I mean, if I were in the camera industry, I mean, that's a huge decrease.
Yeah, so I've got actually Matt probably knows more about my digital SLR camera than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that it's a 24 megapixel camera, DSLR. What brand is it I have? I have not a Canon.
Nikon?
Nikon. I have a Nikon. This is a 108 megapixel camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but they're not real megapixels. They're half of a megapixel times divided by AI.
Yes,
but does it matter?
You know how many sheep you have by counting up the feet and dividing by 4.
Right, exactly. So one of the things that this guy goes into is, again, with the filters that are built into your phones, with the AI that is driving how to make photographs better. What would have taken $5,000 minimum in equipment, another annual subscription to a software service, and hours and hours and hours, right, and countless hours of editing your photos can all be done within minutes and posted online. We see it all the time. So we're actually going to talk about an AI art project, which is AI art generating software that exists. There's a couple that are really good. I didn't find this article in time to actually sign up for them because there's a wait list, because these things are incredible. He talks about two. He talks about Midjourney and DALL-E 2. We're actually going to look at some of the work generated by DALL-E 2 here. This is their Instagram account. And the interesting thing about this is every one of these pieces of artwork on this Instagram page is completely AI generated. All the person did was, in the software, they actually entered a couple keywords, like they would have said, dogs playing cards, and you can enter the art style and possibly materials used, and it will generate your artwork for you. And it can go anywhere from, photorealistic to, painting, to 3D models, and a single person never touched any of these. This is all AI generated.
Like a cat would play chess. The cat would just knock the chess pieces over.
So here's something else. I want to show you this video real quick here. So here's one, and you might say, how can it relate to marketing? Look at this. This lady is walking down the street, and it shows you how to change her outfit. So we're going to play that from the beginning again. Look at this. Say you're a fashion designer, and you want your model,
such as I, okay,
right, and you want your model to change clothes as they're walking down the street, and it just shifts. Look at this. Look at this lady's outfit, and it moves with the model, and that's all AI driven.
This is not a good idea.
Well, says somebody going to art school, paying a lot of money to go to art school.
I'm not paying money to go to art school.
Well, the government is paying money for you to go to art school.
I was getting ready to warn you not to go down that path.
But the point is, Matt, look, guess what?
You went to art school. How is this a good idea?
Well, look, Matt, if you don't want to actually do your homework, sign up for this software, and this thing will paint you a piece of cheese in a tree or something.
They don't have tests like that anymore. They watch me do it.
I know, that's the problem, because things like this exist. I mean, again, look at this. Some of this stuff is photorealistic, and some of it's painted, and some of it's CG.
It's not photorealistic. That's an elephant, sort of. It's got a trunk.
You can photograph elephants.
You can photograph elephants.
Nobody's ever photographed an elephant.
Oh, you know what? I think he might be right about that.
It's true. But isn't this incredible?
I mean, it seems incredible, but when you realize they've had this since, the not Demolition Man, what was the other one? Judge Dredd back in the day was Sylvester Stallone. I mean,
They did?
They did? I don't think that's a thing, David.
Where they created all the background and his family and everything. Come on, guys. Am I the only one who's ever watched this movie? Did I finally stump you on a movie, West?
Oh, you're talking about what actually happened in the movie? I thought you were trying to talk about the special effects they used on the movie. I was like, I don't think that's how they did that, David.
No. I'm talking about the terrible special effects they try to use.
Yeah, I was going to say that movie did not have good special effects.
Let's remove all the fake stuff, and it's just a picture of a baby in a white background.
Yeah, most people should forget most Sylvester Stallone movies.
No, those are cool things.
So Judge Dredd's a classic.
I am the law.
He didn't say it quite like that. He's like, I am the law.
I think I got it better on that one.
And the only winner in this was me, because I was the only one not trying to do a
didn't say
Sylvester
I am the
Stallone
law.
impersonation.
Fair point. Fair
so,
point.
West, you're an artist. You're a graphic artist. How can you possibly think any of this is good? How can you even think that going to the website, where clearly they're stealing your image, is a good idea?
Who's stealing my image?
You got your camera there. They're sucking it out through the internet. The AI people.
The AI people. Okay. So unknown user says TikTok has a filter like that. People going crazy with it, and he's totally right. So unknown user, wonderful fisherman one. You're totally right. So Instagram filters, Snapchat filters, TikTok filters. I mean, they have real-time filters they can do all of this stuff. It's crazy.
Now, Matt. Now, Matt.
What you don't understand.
What you don't understand
What
is.
you don't understand, Matt.
What you don't understand is. So I am going to rename Matt Socrates.
Socrates?
That's a really good.
Socrates.
That's
Yes, because Socrates believed that writing was going to ruin the communication skills between individual people. By writing it down, it would weaken our memory and weaken us. So we're going all the way back to the written, the original written word, not the original. Please, dear Lord, don't strike me down. But the writing, when we started organizing our writing, there were detractors then on that technology.
That's true.
There's a hell of a difference between writing and
There is absolutely no difference. Zero difference in the two.
Well, look. When I remember when
Zero.
digital photography came out, it wasn't that long ago, and people were saying that digital photography is going to destroy film photography. Traditional photography will never be the same again. And it's true. It changed. It changed, but it's still there. It still exists. So I don't think this is actually going to get rid of art or photography.
No, it's not.
It's just going to change the landscape.
It's not. And to be honest, maybe not on the quality and the scale that it's available right now, but digital art's been around for a while.
Well, also imagine when technology reaches the point to where these AI tools are fully available at that resolution in an app, where it can be on your phone, and you can make something that's that original, just without even trying. And part of it that I see is going to be from things like thispersondoesnotexist.com, because that's cloud-based. Mm-hmm. And even DALL-E, the one we were just looking at, DALL-E 2, is cloud-based. That processing isn't done on your phone. Your phone can tell it what to do through the app, but the processing isn't actually done there. So it's basically there already. Now, like Matt alluded to us a couple minutes ago, when you start applying deep fake technology to this, when you can put a real person's face doing something they didn't do in these AI-generated scenarios, that changes the world altogether. And our live studio audience joins us. Hi, Catherine.
Well, hello, Miss Catherine. You've got some ears on tonight.
She always has her ears. She loves her ears.
I thought those were my ears.
Nope, these are her ears. Don't play with the microphone. What are you doing? You say something?
Hi.
Hey, where did you just come from?
Upstairs.
No, where are you guys at? Where were you guys at?
Soccer play.
You're at soccer practice.
Oh, I thought she was going to say Taco Bell.
Behind where my wife normally parks?
No, I parked off almost into the grass.
On which side? Towards the door or the other side?
The right side. The other side, away from the door.
Okay, good. Perfect. Okay. Sorry, my family just got home, and I got to make sure my wife can actually get in the garage. Okay.
Just put me down as I don't think it's a good idea.
Got it. So when AI takes over, you'll be the first they kill.
You know what? That's just it. And then nobody will know because they'll have a fake of me walking around.
That's true. Look, that's something else. Think about this. If it ever reaches the point to where most people are working from home, Imagine if you could get an AI tool that could emulate your voice, simulate your face. You could even be on camera and actually do some work for you, because there's AI writers right now that actually do copywriting. Imagine, it won't be long before there's an app that can literally do your entire job on camera. So your boss, same thing, thinks you're at work.
You're gonna make me throw up.
Am I wrong though?
You're scaring me.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
We're
No, you're
getting
not.
getting
That's the
there.
problem
It's
with
not
AI.
far off. Now look, I promise you, within the next 10 years, that technology will exist.
Didn't anyone watch Terminator?
Well,
I have pulled up the videos of robots attacking humans here. Don't program a robot to attack humans, and it won't.
It's bound to happen.
well,
There's absolutely no code that will generate on its own for a robot to
Mhm.
attack a human.
not yet, David.
Not ever.
Artificial intelligence.
So, David, look up the different levels of AI. Hang on, David. I know you
get it,
disagree with
but
this.
unless we program it
No,
to
no, no,
do
no, no,
that,
no,
it
David.
can't.
David, I know you disagree with this, but look up these two things. Look at these things.
Skynet is not real.
I'm not saying Skynet's real, but look at these things. There's a difference in AI. There's general AI
Death AI.
and there's super AI. Now, the difference.
Super AI.
No, it sounds crazy. The difference is
get
general
my cape.
AI is essentially what you're talking about, to where it can emulate a person within the confines of its programming. Now, there's the inflection point to where you can make an AI so smart it can actually analyze and change its own code. And if it ever saw fit, it could change its own code to do whatever it wants, David.
I get it.
When the AI
But
is
you're
when
missing. You're missing out on the key point there. Actually, you said the word that you need. Once.
What do you mean once?
Once. What does a computer want?
Well, here's the thing. Okay.
Is a
I
computer
forget-
afraid
well,
of
hang on,
getting
hang on,
turned
hang on.
off? No.
I forget the name of the AI. So a while ago,
Steve.
Microsoft. No, hang on. There's a point to this. A few years ago, Microsoft made an AI, a chatbot they put on Twitter, and they left it on all the time just to see what would happen. And Google it. Try and find the name, Matt. I can't remember the name of this AI, but they actually had to turn this thing off after a couple of weeks, because what it did as a chatbot, it learned from other content scenarios that are on Twitter. And of course, we all know Twitter is where the most high-minded of
cesspool.
people exist.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they had to turn it off after a couple of weeks because it basically started spouting off a bunch of neo-Nazi nonsense. It was terrible. The stuff it was saying back was literally the most vile content you could ever imagine.
Oh, dear Lord. Almost took us right down a political wormhole there. I was going to say, so what you're
okay.
telling me is that robots are, and then I was going to,
Yeah. No, we can't.
Yeah.
We can't go there. But
let's stay away from that.
So
So
Matt has the headline.
what's next on our topic
the headline?
tonight?
Twitter taught Microsoft's AI chat box to be a racist asshole in less than a day.
In less than a day. Okay. So, and now imagine if you have an AI that has reached the inflection point to where it can actually alter its own programming and it can actually turn off, disable its own off switch. And it's developed these
I want to see the
chatbot-esque
programming.
learning scenarios.
I want to see the programming, the actual programming behind it.
Okay.
To say, all right, what did it do? Because if you limit something to try to, because you can write an if statement, but if you confine that
Right.
to, let's say, a million users, which it sounds like a whole lot of numbers, a whole huge number of people, but in the world of Twitter, that's not really a significant amount. I mean, it's a significant amount, but not enormous.
Mhm.
So if you limit it, but you selected of who that person is listening to, that computer is listening to, and what sample of the writing is.
So
Because all they can do is write it, look at numbers,
that's not
of
true.
frequency
David,
of it,
David,
and have
that's
no
not true.
inflection of what those words
David, that's
actually
not
mean.
true. That's not
Oh
true.
my God.
That's not true. Your understanding of AI is it's general. It's general, but true AI. Hang on, Matt. True AI is more than a series of if-then statements. There's something called neuroplasticity that adults
That
don't
doesn't
have
exist.
anymore. That what's that?
That doesn't exist in a
It
computer
does
network.
exist, David. That's what they're developing. They're developing.
They may be trying to develop it, but it does
neuroplasticity.
not exist.
It does exist, David. It does exist. It does. It's a thing.
David West does this for a living.
It does exist. This is a thing.
He creates AI to take over the world.
No, David. This
Absolutely impossible.
Okay.
You heard it here from me. Absolutely impossible.
Okay.
If a computer is
Just
not
like,
programmed
just
to do
like
something, it
phraseology.
cannot do it.
Just like phraseology.
Yeah,
It
you
does
got me
exist.
once. You'll not get me on the second one.
Neuroplasticity. This is what they're developing. This is what people are developing.
We are providing grade A quality business content tonight.
All right, we do have good actual content here.
Yeah, let's get, because we're wrapping up our conversation piece from last week.
It's
Although
true,
we have
and,
provided great conversation.
Well, we've been going for a half hour, and we could go all day on AI. So we should actually do just a show where it's us battling the differences in AI capabilities. That would be a good show.
There's some people are like, oh yeah, you and Wes just get along about everything. No.
Get us talking about AI.
We do not
disagree.
AI. There's a couple other topics. I'm like, come on, he's an idiot. And Wes over like, what a moron.
Yep, that's true. More than a couple of topics. All right, so
oh man, why you gotta hurt my feelings like that?
So today's topic is actually really good. So it's actually so important that we literally carried it over from last week. And this is coming from a guy who's been in sales for how long? You been in sales, David? Forever. And a guy who's in marketing. So, and another salesman back here. And honestly, this might be one of the most important topics we've ever covered, which is conversation and how to better your business and your marketing through actual conversation. Because we're going to touch on a couple things real quick before we actually pick up where we left off. But the point is, the very best marketing in the world is always, or at least always should be, a dialogue, a conversation. Most people think, you put a blog piece out there and it's one way. It's basically a monologue. Or you put social content out there and that's your marketing, and that's, it's a monologue. You're telling somebody something. Mm-hmm. You're not listening back, and you're not responding. Even if you are reading the replies or the comments, you need to reply back. You build the dialogue. You build the relationship, which is why you have a conversation. And that's why the best marketing in the world is always a conversation.
Yeah, I actually had a meeting this morning over in Rochester, New York, and I walk up to it, and I'm the SME of what we're going to. And they're like, hey, do you have some literature and this word I hate with a passion in the business world? Do you have some collateral?
Yep.
You're asking, do I have a handout and pamphlets and all this stuff?
Right.
I'm like, no, I don't work like that. Plus we have sustainability things that we've got to do that, I don't print off just a bunch of stuff just to have it laying around. Mm-hmm. So I go there and, I'm having this, conversation with him, and the guy that's with me, he's like, man, this is so much different than what I expected, because you focus on what I thought you were going to focus on for, I thought you were going to be this guy, and you only gave him about 30 seconds to a minute of that. And then you had a conversation with them the whole rest of the time, mm-hmm. finding out what they need and how they're going and how we can solve the issues that they have, where we can go a little overboard and where we can actually be a little more conservative and, save them revenue while providing them a full, and all-encompassing solution to their problem. And, we pretty much locked it in today from our conversation. So, mm-hmm. I mean, it was a great thing, but it was a dichotomy there, on both sides. So
right.
It worked out very well.
And I think we've almost been trained. Your point about collateral is awesome, because I think in a lot of ways as consumers, we've almost been trained to do that, to consume. When we think somebody's trying to sell us something, we're like, hey, can you just give me a piece of paper and I can go away and read it on my own, or throw it in a corner somewhere and forget that I ever got it. They're not used to, oh, this person's responding to me with whatever questions I might have. And when they actually get that, there's such like a shock to their system that they keep engaging. And honestly, you see this in every format, not just face-to-face, but also, in literally any kind of marketing or sales that you can put out there. So the first point is, it kind of plays to this a little bit. Unfortunately, too many people, when you're in a conversation or a dialogue, most people never actually listen. They don't listen. They just wait for their turn to speak. And we've all had those conversations where the other person's not listening, and you almost have to speak faster.
I have been guilty of that on occasion.
Well,
there are certain times I'm like, and sometimes I think about stuff and I'm like, ooh. Like when we have especially the guy from Disney, I'm completely blanking on his name.
Steve Cotroneo.
Yeah, Steve. We have Steve on here, man. He's talking about some of the movies that he was involved in. I don't want to interrupt this guy, but there's just no way I can't. There's just no way, because I'm excited about what he's talking about. Just excited.
Yeah.
And, being excited for somebody and being excited for them and their success and things of that nature really, really helps push the conversation forward,
Right.
as well.
Absolutely. And you see this with the very best interviewers. And David and I mean, we have a ways to go before we're up to that level, but you look at late night talk show hosts or really good radio interviewers. They're actually not just listening, they're actively listening. Their responses are always to propel their guests' speaking points. Very rarely will they ever interrupt with something unrelated or off topic, because it's all about the guest. It's all about their person they're speaking with feeling more important. And the same is true with you and your business or your marketing. Yeah, you're putting content out there that's to be consumed by your potential customers, right? However, when you can build a proper dialogue through that marketing, and your customers feel like they're being listened to, and you're responding specifically to them and them alone, guess what? I mean, it's going to be next level responses you're going to get from them. And if we want to relate this back to AI, a lot of companies are employing chatbots now that have AI-driven responses built into them. Now, those are, David, to your point, those are if-then statements in a lot of ways. For now.
Forever.
With sales, if you're the salesperson and you're communicating with somebody who's not listening, it's your job to get control of the sales, because 98% of the population is not an active listener.
Right.
It's an incredibly hard skill to learn.
But what do? You get the other person talking about their business
Yes.
and their interests and their
That's it.
needs.
Yep.
You propel the conversation.
It's your job to keep them engaged.
Absolutely.
I've seen it where I have seen more times than I can count. The second I have lost them, and they instantly get that glaze. There is a glaze.
Their eyes. It's true. The eyes glaze over. David, you've seen this.
Yeah.
And they typically.
Oh, he's looking at me. David, you've seen this. You talk a lot.
David,
so yeah,
you see this a lot. I know.
And that's and that's one of the reasons that I've been so successful.
Right.
Is when because I'm in in a field that I'm very comfortable with and very knowledgeable about. That when I go in, I usually am the SME for the situation. So I don't take any bit of the knowledge I have in there to throw it on the table. What I do is I go in and I find a thing that the other parties are excited about. And you'll get to a point when you're having a conversation. Let's say you're trying to sell anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You're trying to sell your business to, let's say you're trying to sell dog cleaning supplies to multiple locations. So as you're talking to a buyer and things of that nature, you got to find out and just, have a couple questions that aren't necessarily right in line with the direct conversation. So sometimes you have to have a tangent here and there. So what you do is you get those excited things and you bring that excitement into the conversation that you have. Right. Then you build on that. You're going to find things inside of their business world, inside of their roles and tasks that bring them, some satisfaction of accomplishing and satisfaction of completing in a timely manner, a cost-effective manner. There's something there that you're going to be able to sell. I don't want to say sell on, but there's going to be something there that you're going to be able to give them that excites them. And if you're the one doing that, the next guy who comes in and goes, "Hey, we can do this. Slip my hair back and here we go. Let's do. Shake my hand. Let's go." It's shooting fish in a barrel.
Right. Yeah, totally. Well,
because they'll tell you what they want.
And that's just it, right? So you get them talking, and you make them the focal point of the conversation. And the same thing is true with your any business or any marketing or any sales. You need to make your viewer, your potential customer, the focus of the conversation. It's not about your product. It's about what your product can do for them and their needs and to solve their problems.
You know what killed me in sales? What ended my sales career was that car accident. Because one of the things I got is I couldn't shut up. I talked a mile a minute, and I would sit in there thinking, "Shut the hell up, Matt," and I wouldn't shut up. I actually had to go to specific therapy to learn to shut up again.
Hey, Matt. Okay, I guess some replies there aren't right now.
Actually, to be honest, can you give me the
name? Like it too much.
I was just going to say, can you give me the name of the therapist? Because I think that would be useful, in many situations, many scenarios, even for people who aren't necessarily reticent. That is not a skill that, should be overlooked.
Well, and so part of it is, knowing those cues in a conversation. Now, look, Matt got some brain damage. He may or may not still be brain damaged. He literally got a concussion, which led to some of those issues. But I think a lot of people do have the problem where they're in a conversation and they don't understand the social cues or the conversational cues to know, let's maybe let the other person have a word, which is a real thing.
Or when to walk away.
Yep.
That's another big thing.
Absolutely, 100%. But let's say
or when to run.
So, David, Matt, you guys are in sales, and you guys are great at it because you're natural speakers. You're naturally good at conversation and engaging people. But for us mere mortals, that's not always the case. So
usually it's my good looks that get me in the door, and then we go from there.
I've heard that about you. But what do you do if your mind goes blank? What do you do if you know you need to propel the conversation, but you just don't know where to go? Like myself, I'm naturally introverted. You need to remember certain cues and certain things that you can do and remind yourself of to propel that conversation, to let the customer know it's about them and their needs. So there's some tactics you can use, and one of them is employed by, we'll go back to talk show hosts. This is used by them all the time, which is the reminds me of tactic. Let's say you put a piece of content out there, you're talking to somebody, and they bring up something that doesn't quite relate back to what you were trying to let them know, but you want to bring it back, sort of veer the conversation back to where it should be. It reminds me of, XYZ. What this does is it shows them that you're not just listening to what they're saying, but it also lets them understand your thought process and lets them know that you're relating their story or their point back to something in your past, right? So it's just a little conversational trick that you can use to sort of veer the conversation in different ways and engage the customer at the same time. You ever do things like that?
Of course,
All the time.
There you go.
But to your point, there are times where your brain just goes blank. Even before the car accident, there's times where your brain just goes blank.
All the time.
And I was always just really upfront and saying, my brain just went blank. And sometimes the customer will pick up the conversation, and other times, well, let's put this off to another time.
Right.
It's a horrible outcome, but I mean,
it is.
What are you going to do?
Absolutely, yeah.
You can have notes, but the problem is in a conversation, it's so fluid that following notes can really be detrimental.
Right. But, David and Matt, how often do you guys have these sort of pre-recorded messages, little sayings, little snippets of conversation that you pull out of the back of your head? You're like, oh, you know what? This relates to this conversation. I'll just say, oh, well, reminds me of the time I was in the car crash.
Right.
Something you said 100 times to 100 people.
I actually do my best to not have those pre-recorded ones back there, because what I find, and it's just for me, other people it may be better. If I find that I have things that are pre-recorded, I usually look for a way. I'm actively looking for a way to work it in the conversation. Not necessarily because it's applicable, but how can I get this? It's in my head. I prepared for it. I might as well use it,
right?
To get it over there. So sometimes I don't do a whole lot of prep when I go to meetings. I'm in the meeting today. I think there was 6-7 people in there, and the person who did the most talking was me. That's what I'm there for. I'm the SME for the situation. That's they're supposed to be able to ask me. But, it was me talking and having conversations, and then how you do that interaction, not just with one person, and how you do the interaction and pull multiple people into the conversation instead of just having a single, a two-way conversation. Now we're having a full-blown conversation at a table full of peers. And it just to me, it just works out a lot better. But I don't do a lot of prep,
Dave,
to go into these meetings.
I think you do an enormous amount of prep before each meeting, because you have 20 years at least.
Yes. Yeah, I've got, it's the years. Yeah, that's the prep. So if we're looking at that end of it, and that's where I say, that's why I use the term SME, is because if I go into a meeting and I'm not the SME, I'll serve donuts.
Right. Look,
but don't ask me a question, because I'm going to tell you to talk to the SME.
So for those watching and listening, SME stands for subject matter expert. So David,
probably
you walk
into
that up. Right. So you walk into a room full of clients, and again, like Matt said, you've been doing this for decades. So that is your prep. But again, like I said, for mere mortals like myself, it doesn't come naturally. My natural scenario is sitting in a dark room typing on a keyboard all day. It's not necessarily having these types of conversations.
Yep. Here we go. the agenda.
Hence my agenda. Hey, they work, man.
They do, and they work out very well. Let's get this back over where it goes. So yeah, but and that's when you see this kind of thing right here with the types of agenda, the detail that you put into it. If I were to ask my current wife to do something similar, this is what I would get. I would get something along these lines. She's very introverted, doesn't want to have a lot of conversations outside the people. She doesn't want to have a conversation with me, let alone talk to the internets. But I took that too far that way. But yeah, but it's different strokes, different folks, different ways of getting things done. I'm not going to say that one's more successful than another, because to be honest, you need multiple personalities. You need multiple levels of looking.
And everybody has their own style,
solution.
really. And everybody has their own style. So when you're using these different conversational, we'll call them tactics, one thing to remember is never try and use one of your reminds me of stories to one up the person you're speaking with, because again, you got to remember, it's all about the customer, and it's all about how your product can help them and solve their problems. Nobody likes somebody who's involved in one-upsmanship. So you want to propel their conversation, not bring something that's going to overshadow their point. So that's also very important.
You also don't want to be a typical salesperson, but you do want to, your goal is to sell. So
True.
You don't want to hide that. You don't want to be a secret agent. You want to be upfront. I'm here to sell.
Well, and that's just it.
But you can find the product that suits them.
Well, and that's just it. So, like I said, it's all about the conversation, emphasizing what your product can do for them, how it can solve their problems. Because it's all about them. Now you are there.
Listening when you said that.
See, that's what do you get? That's why you're not financially successful. So that also brings up another point. Number 3, you need to give the other person as many opportunities to speak as possible. Even though you're the salesperson and you're the subject matter expert, it's important that they feel like they're in charge of the conversation. Unless they just literally want to sit there with their arms folded and just listen to you go. You could be in a lecture hall, I don't know. But most people, especially in not necessarily sales maybe, but definitely marketing, you need to let them have their voices heard, because again, people are very egocentric. People are very self-centered just by nature. It's just how biology works. So you need to give the other person as many opportunities to speak as possible. And with that, I will let you speak.
Well, you and I actually there is a time that you get that one-way monologue. You and I actually offered to let people come on the show and try out their elevator speech. Way back when we were still back at the old original studio, when this was going on, and we offered to let people say, hey, come on in and on the show we'll fire off your elevator pitch. So your elevator pitch, that introduction of you, your product, your service, whatever it is that you are trying to promote. I'm not going to say sell. I'm going to say promote. What you're trying to promote, that's your window for your monologue. That's your one-way dump of information. After that, you need to be, if you're in a room with only one other person, then you should be about 50-50 on the time talking.
Sure. Yeah, that's dialogue.
If you're a little shallow, if you're a little short on yours, or a little shallow on your time, that's better. You don't want it to be way on one side, but you definitely don't want to have 51% of the conversation. You want to have 49% or less, to a minimum point, because you need to be responding.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But if you're in a room and you have 6, 7, 10 people in there, or in sometimes cases I've been in rooms where I've had a few hundred people and I'm addressing them. Yes, I'm talking a lot, but each person in here that wants to have a voice at the table, or a voice in the conversation, has that. So it's a judgment that you've got to kind of work it in and finesse. And if you have, like, let's say you're a West version of the world, your agendas and the things that you have, these tools that you take with you to keep you in that and kind of keep you in line, to make sure that if you say, let's say you're talking and speaking to a large group of people, you can have a bullet point and you can actually ask the question that generates what you want. Do any of you guys have concerns about XYZ? Well, XYZ now greets this guy over here who otherwise probably would have remained quiet, but now you've spoken on something that he is actually concerned about. He's going to voice his concern, and more importantly, especially for people like West and in that ilk of how they prepare, he is prepared for it. You're prepared for that response.
Absolutely.
To give a response. So there's a lot of ways to do it. And I'd say I'd open it back up. If anybody wants to try a sales pitch on us, I don't know that we'll do it on the air. We might do a couple of them off the air with you first. And then, if it's something we feel comfortable with and you feel comfortable with, then maybe we would invite you on to give it a try. But I don't think I want somebody, because it can get very. We
could get some weird ones.
Not just that, it can get very stressful on the person trying to make that presentation. And I wouldn't want you to, I want to set you up for success. I don't want to set you up for failure.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. And that makes sense. Totally. If somebody wants to come on and give a pitch, let us know and we will we'll arrange an offline conversation. We'll make it happen.
Before you finish this out, there's one last thing I want to say. So one thing I did when I started with Aflac, the insurance company, the supplemental insurance, is because my learning curve was so fast, I had to learn so quickly that every time I didn't make a sale, I would say, okay, sale part's over. Tell me if you wouldn't mind, because I really want to get better at this job. Please tell me why you said no or why you weren't interested. I said, no, I'm not going to, I said, even if you want it now, I won't sell it to you. So I just really want to learn why people are saying no.
Sure.
Yes.
It was the best thing I could have said. I got so much information that way.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's what actually, I'm really glad you brought that up, Matt. That is actually really good information. I call them an autopsy. I don't have to do so many of them for myself anymore, but I actually offer autopsy services to the 50, blah, 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 whatever, however many companies that I work with now. I go to them and say, hey, if you find yourself in a trend of losing, or there's a project that you had that you really felt good about, but then it washed away from you, bring me in. I'll conduct an autopsy on that. We'll go through the whole process. I'll look at every single penny, nickel, dime, dollar that was involved into it, man hours, everything that makes up this presentation, this proposal that you'd sent out. And then I will do investigations outside of your company and take a look and see where it went, how it went, with public bid, private bid, all these other things, and pull it all together and say, all right, this is, we lost it because of this, we lost it because of that, and put it together so that if you know why you lose projects, you are much more likely to win a project. If you know why you're losing, it's really easy to win then. So I offer that for people too. So I'm really glad. Thank you, Matt, for bringing that up, because that's that knowing why you lose or knowing why you're getting a no.
Right.
Priceless. Absolutely priceless.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. And those bits of learning are things that you can take in, especially when you're learning how to converse, because again, what you guys do, David and Matt, doesn't really come naturally to most people. So this next piece, this next tactic that you can use, isn't just something you can use in your marketing. This is something you should use in job interviews, on dates. This is something you can use in all parts of any social interactions you're in, which is remember not to use questions that require a single word answer. Go out of your way to ask
open-ended. Yeah,
right,
open-ended questions.
Yeah, go out of your way to ask those open-ended questions. So here's an example. Instead of saying, oh, you're from New York. Do you like it there? Yeah.
No.
Exactly. Instead, you should say something like, oh, how do you like New York? I'm really curious to hear about it.
Yeah.
Because they can't just say no. I mean, that'd be weird.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Exactly. So.
No.
So that basically just leads to awkwardness and silence, which nobody feels good about. Even if you are a good conversationalist, that awkward silence is it's deafening how terrible it can be. The next trick you can do is the very first conversational tool that you learn as a kid, which is why. right? And you got to word it carefully so you don't sound like an idiot. Just keep saying why. But you could say something like, oh, you're in sales. Why'd you get into that? Or oh, you live in New York. Why'd you go there? Because there's a story there, and it can get the other person talking about themselves. And like we said, essentially, everybody, even the Pope, is egotistical to a certain extent. They want to talk about themselves. They want to talk about their own experiences. Your customers want to hear their own name. They want to hear. They want to be able to speak about their story.
Hi, Joyce.
So we're getting some comments I'm missing. So I'm looking at my notes, not checking out the comments.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because over in the comments, I actually dropped in because so you two are on fire right now. I got to tell you. You two are on fire right now. So between his topic about why, where did the no come from, basically what I call an autopsy, and your conversation of, hey, we need to have a conversation, which means we're having open-ended questions asked. We're presenting a conversation topic, not necessarily a question. And so what I did was I just real quick Google search on this. So, grade A reporting over here, put some open-ended questions that you can have it. Tell me, what do you think about that?
Right.
Why would you suggest that? What do you think will happen now? Hey, blah, 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 blah. What do you think will happen now? That is an invitation for conversation. So I put some of those over in the comments so that if anybody wants to look at them, there's some starters. And there are some practice things that you can do. And there was a conference I was in years ago up in Foxborough at the Patriot Stadium, that we did. The whole thing was based upon open-ended questions. Yeah,
that's great.
And we literally, as a room full of, I think not as big a group in that one. I think there was 85, 90 of us in that group, and we probably spent 4 hours. Now, we are all professionals doing what we do. We spent 4 hours in open-ended questions.
And this is a room full of people with your skill set. Essentially, your speaking skill set. You do this every day. And this is how important this still is to even you guys. Like, this topic of conversations and how to propel conversations is so important. Most people never understand how important this actually is. This is why we're spending 2 days on this. Two different shows on this.
Yeah, 2 shows on the conversation of how powerful it can be. And there, there's different ways you got to look at it. There is there's many different ways to get it. We don't have time to get into all of them. We're going to continue on our conversation about conversations.
Exactly. So we'll talk like this.
He gave a story, so I want to give a quick story. So this is
he's going to one-up me.
It's about rolling with the punches. So after my accident, I still had to go. It was several months because I wasn't able to work. But once I got back to work, I stuttered really bad. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and but I had to go get this line service. They did the underground lines. A great company, great group of people, and they knew in fact, the accident I'd had while I was on the way to do their enrollment.
Oh wow.
Time. But now we're running out of time. The enrollment had to happen. So I get out there. I have a new life product. No, it wasn't life. It was a new. I forget what insurance it was. But I pulled out the brochure, and I remember the stuttering Bible salesman. So I said, "Do you want to buy it, or do you want me to read it to you?" Only I'm stuttering.
That's pretty funny.
And I was shaking so bad that the guys had to take my laptop, and I told them where to point or where to type, and they did all the typing. I mean, they literally did everything for me.
Wow.
But that was because we built that relation over time. Plus, all of this was on my way to get, I was trying to help them when I had the accident.
They owed you.
Yeah, they really
did. you sons of bitches, you owe me.
Well, it sounded it sounded to me like he was quiet quitting, that he was having other people do his job.
Yeah, his car accident that led to massive concussions was his way of quiet quitting.
I mean, he planned the whole thing.
I'm going home.
Tonight on Coast to Coast with George Norrie.
So anyway, we're gonna talk like NPR guys for the rest of the show.
We are not going to do that.
Enjoy the soothing sound of my own voice. What's that?
Especially for salespeople and managers, when you're out and about, you can, if you work for a company, if you work for yourself, it's different. But if you work for a company, you cannot apologize unless you're authorized to apologize, because it can lead to a sale. It can lead to a lawsuit.
Apologize about what?
Poor service, whatever. You
Huh,
can't
all right.
apologize on behalf of the company unless you have that authorization to apologize.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay.
David never apologizes because he's
David's never apologized for anything in his life.
No.
We understand. We know David.
I'm
It's
sorry. Who are we talking about?
Exactly.
I am wrong more than any person I know, and I apologize for it all the time.
And you
The difference is I'm one of the few people that's just, I'm willing to be wrong, so I'll say a lot of crap. So, when you say as much as I do, you're going to be wrong, and you have to learn.
It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game at that point.
Yeah, law of large numbers says there are aliens out there, and David is going to be wrong a lot because he says a lot. Those are the two things. George Norrie, coast to coast.
98% of what I
Exactly.
Right, but I say an awful lot. So that 2%.
It's a lot of stuff there, a lot of content to sift through. All right, so
a lot of stuff to unpack on that one.
So here's another one. This is number 4 in this list, and this is a huge one in my world. And I promise you, when I inform you guys about where this is going, it's going to be huge in your worlds too, which is reactivation. Reactivation. So let's say you're in a conversation that goes cold, or you have a lead list that goes cold, right? And we all have percentage of a lead list that goes cold, or an email list that goes cold or expires. How do you reactivate those people? How do you reactivate the conversation with a group of people you're in? Or you're on a date and the conversation goes cold. How do you reactivate?
That used to be my job at Aflac.
There you go.
Years.
Right.
I went out and reactivated accounts. I'm sorry, for 2 years.
But how often?
That's how you landed us as an account back in the day.
Yes, that is.
It is.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It is. That's how he was our rep for a long time, because he reactivated the account because it had grown cold, and whoever it was that managed it before, just they kind of abandoned it.
Right.
So he came out and reactivated, re-energized, and reconnected with our group of people, and did a lot of good for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. So tell us the story about how you reactivated a cold account.
So I would walk in with a manila folder, like I owned it, because most of these accounts were Section 125 tags. So I had to do this. I had to either get them reactivated current so that they would be in compliance with the Section 125, or I had to deactivate them because I wasn't going to be in court trying to explain why we hadn't done our due diligence and why, But I also had the power of Aflac authorizing me to apologize, and that was huge. The fact that I could apologize on behalf of Aflac was one of the best tools I had.
Okay.
So I'd walk into the account, and I knew right off whether or not we owed somebody in their money, just in wellness benefits, because chances are they had been to a doctor. And if they had the wellness benefit, then chances are we were very high that we owed them money.
Okay.
And so I had a list of the people who had the account, who had policies, and I knew what policies had the wellness. So I would say I'm Matt Harmon with the Aflac. I forget I think it was reactivation team. I said, you have become a mismanaged orphaned account. And the minute I would say the word orphan, it was amazing. The reactions were always the same. They would say, yes, that's us. That's us.
Because people feel left out in the cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
They loved that they were being acknowledged that we had mismanaged their account. And I had some of them who were very rude, and I would say, stop. I'm like, I'm not here to
collaborate and listen.
If you want to shut this account down, I'll help you do that. So I would help them with the one thing they needed.
Right.
And a couple of them just kicked me out. I mean, they refused to talk to me. But I'm like, all right, when you get audited, here's my card.
Right.
And but you got to respect them if they're not wanting you in there. So I would leave. But I would. So then, occasionally they would say, well, I guess you want to see all the employees because that's what Aflac just hammers in, that you need to see all the. And I would say, no, I don't need to see any employees except these. And I would show the ones that, and I would meet with them, and I would tell the people, we're not going to meet with anybody until we've made sure everybody on these policies has been paid if we owe them money. So if we owe them money, we want to make sure they get paid. I'm like, after that, we can discuss whether or not you even want us in here. And if you do, then I'll meet with all the employees.
Right.
And so it was no pressure.
Mhm.
I'm here to get these folks paid first off,
Mhm.
and then maybe if you want us, but
Right.
we had not earned those accounts. We had dropped the ball so badly.
Yeah.
I had one guy who had tried to file a claim, and it's not complicated, but it's paperwork, and a lot of guys don't like doing paperwork. And so he had busted his jaw. Basically, I think Affleck owed him it was either 20 or 30,000, but it was a huge chunk of money they owed him. But he didn't know it was that big. He just knew he had an accident. So he gets in my face, and he was huge. He was a paver, and he was this great big guy. And he says, "F Affleck." And I looked at him, and I said, "You can F me later. Let's get you paid." And his shoulders immediately relaxed.
Yeah.
He stopped wanting to fight, and because salespeople don't talk like that.
Right. Look.
And we sat, and we did the paperwork.
Yeah.
He was my biggest advocate, and he didn't like anybody. So the fact that he would talk on my behalf,
Right.
I did really well at that paving company.
Exactly. So the best part
I'm ready to make a ruling. I'm ready to make a ruling. Because our good friend Matt back there used the carrot or the stick tactic. And, the carrot worked out very well. I'll F you later. Let's get you paid. I rule in favor.
There you go. You got the gavel. The judge has spoken.
I got my gavel. It's been sitting here for weeks. I haven't had a chance to do it. So,
I'm glad I gave you the chance.
So
thank you so much.
You're making some great points, though. The thing about reactivating a single conversation or a group conversation, or reactivating cold leads, or even an email list, is setting a fire back to that conversation, letting it focus on that person and their needs and their desires,
right?
And acknowledging that without always directing, the blame back to yourself, but it's more about letting that person speak and get air their grievances. And even in some cases, like an cold email list or a cold lead list, re-incentivizing the conversation to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what you did. In a different way, you did actually re-incentivize him to come forward and relax and say, yeah, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to help you. It's about your needs. It's about what can I do for you?
I went to work for another insurance company very briefly, and they wanted me to do the same thing. But their approach was so ridiculous. That's why I'm not saying their name. They refused to apologize even when the account had been mismanaged, because they were thinking it would reflect poorly on them.
Right.
There's nothing you could do that's going to reflect even more poorly.
Yeah, you already lost the business. Right. You already if you let the business go cold, you've already lost the business. It's your job to now reactivate and re-incentivize and bolster that relationship back to life.
And you owed them. This company owed them an apology because it wasn't life or death, but they dropped the ball. They stopped calling on them, and it happens. But when it happens, you need to say you're sorry.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Well, so I know it was probably pre this quote, but there is almost in every situation a Samuel L. Jackson quote that you can utilize.
Get these mother effing snakes off of this mother effing plane.
I was going to go with, I recognize the cancel has made a decision, but seeing as how it's a stupid ass decision, I've decided to ignore it.
Much better quote. Much better quote. What is that from?
A lot more applicable. That is the first Avengers movie.
There you go. There you go.
So I'm actually, here's our first actual David tangent of the night.
Snakes on a plane.
Comments. We'll get there. I want comments. Let you guys. I want to know if you guys think it's be freaking hilarious. I think every week, West and I, and if Matt's going to be back there, I think the three of us need to challenge each other to get a word. I'm gonna pick a word. I'm gonna say, West, you got to find a way to work this in tonight. It could be prestidigitarius. For all I know, I have no idea. Which is out of The Sword and the Stone, the Disney movie way back in the day. Anyway, but I think each of us should have a word that we challenge each other to work into the conversation in some manner throughout the evening, throughout the conversation.
Well, David, I'm going to prestidigitariously bring us back onto topic.
Yes, and you should.
I think you're totally right.
That's why it was a tangent.
We should totally do it.
It was a called tangent.
But you can't pick a word like prestidigitarius after we've had multiple beers. That's on my only rule. All right, so
There's going to be a side pull on which one of us bites our tongue first. Trying to say prestidigitarius.
That's the trick. Is it would be prestidigitarius to say prestidigitarius after multiple beers.
This is getting better. Drink some more and let's keep doing this.
Exactly. Oh man. All right.
All right. So, how do you guys know each other?
Well, so that's the thing, right? So
like
let's
that?
say you're in a group of people, or let's bring this back to real life, and you can sort of build out how to do it through digital chains or through email or through phone conversations. But let's say you're in a group of people, and the conversation goes cold. We all reach a point when you're in a group with a group of people where eventually everybody's just looking at their phones. Nobody really knows what to say. Literally, all you got to say is something like, "Hey, how do you guys all know each other?" Because there's a story there. At least one person in that group has a story about how they knew this person, and they did this and this and this, and that crazy thing happened. And that gets this other person talking about how they know each other and what they did over here. There's always a story. So, again, the point is, get the other person talking. When you're in a conversation, whether it's marketing or sales or in real life, on a date, in a job interview, get the other person talking.
All my dates recently have been going very well because I've been using some of these tactics.
Well, people forget these tactics, especially, I just mentioned job interviews. People forget. In a job interview, guess what? If you're being interviewed, the more you can get the interviewer talking, the more they like you. Mm-hmm. The more because they then they associate you with their good stories. Get them talking about the job, about themselves, about how they feel about the company and their coworkers, and you'll be surprised about the crazy stuff that you can actually get out of that interviewer.
I used it yesterday with a professor.
There you go.
Professor had an interesting, a way of grading a certain group of projects we had to do, where he was going to take the grade of a random person in the class, grade that person, give everybody that grade, which means I could have wound up with a 0, which I actually don't get why he was doing that.
That's not a good way to grade paper. No, I might have reported him to the dean.
So, I was going to, but then I thought, you know what? Why not just have a conversation with him?
Okay.
And I really did think about reporting him to the dean, but I thought, I'm going to go. So I went to him, and I truly do like his style of teaching. Apart from that,
just not his style of grading.
Apart from that part of
it,
because
So I'm curious. Please tell me you talked to him. What was his? Tell me what was in the box. What was his thought behind this?
I had to explain to him. Look, I'm funded by the government. If I get less than a C cumulative, if I have less than a C average, an investigation into me and into the situation is launched. I'm like, this isn't going to look good for anybody. I said, but I risked losing $40,000.
It's true. Yeah.
So I gave him a reason not to do it, and then I explained first because he could be exposed.
Yeah.
He doesn't want people knowing that.
Yeah, we don't want our teachers. We don't want your teacher to be exposing himself.
Right, and then but also, that's true.
It's art school. It happens. It's art school.
It is art school.
And flying, whatever. At any rate, but so when I explained that, he was really good about it. He said he changed his policy.
And our live studio audience joins us tonight. Locke, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
What'd you do today?
School is like all day, and you had soccer practice. I stayed on the playgrounds the whole time.
Oh, that's great. Catherine, how was soccer practice?
Good.
Did you kick the ball?
Yeah.
Good. Did you get a goal?
Yeah.
All the goals?
Did you get all the goals?
No.
That's good. That's nice. You got to share the goals with other people.
Hey, what's your little friend you have here, Catherine?
Kitty.
Oh, that's your kitty that you colored.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the ears? You lost your ears.
Yeah, she takes those off at bedtime.
Okay.
So, Locke, what did you do at school today? We're having a conversation.
The normal things that we do.
The normal things you do?
But this time we had free computer choice time.
Whoa, free computer choice time?
Because we earned all 10 stars.
You earned 10 stars?
Yeah.
You're amazing.
I put my cat right. No,
That's
I mean
a great place for a cat.
everybody on
the whole class earned 10 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
West, how many computers were in your school in kindergarten and first grade?
Computers didn't exist. We had a rock.
I can say without a shadow of a doubt, even in our office, I went to a school called Sims Valley. It was Windsor number 3 for my kindergarten, first and second grade.
Hi.
And I can tell you, in the entirety of the school that I was in, there was not one computer.
Yeah, no. Even when I was in high school, we didn't have computers.
We are very old, and people who are having birthdays here in this kind of general time, they're old too. Everybody's just getting old all of a sudden.
I know. What's up with that? Come on. One of these days, I might start getting gray hairs. I don't know what's happening. I'm getting way
You know
too
what?
old.
You could take it, and you could just if you keep walking, you could right off. I got the gray of the beard. If I let the hair grow out here, it's all look like Doctor Strange.
David, it's all about clean living, man. Clean living.
Damn, Skippy.
Exactly. Oh, they're
Moving on.
Ant lecture.
Oh, he knows all about the biology of
And
ants.
a group lecture.
A Groot. Hey, Catherine, time for bed.
Good night, sweetheart.
Good night.
You have a good night.
Good night, Goog. Sweet dreams.
Bye.
And the current wife is over here. Hello, current wife.
Hello, current wife. Is she coming back down for the after show?
You come back down for the after show. She looks very tired.
Headache from the sun in my eyes.
She has a headache. Yeah, so she took the kids to soccer practice, so it's a lot of work. Yeah, we're still live. All right, so getting back to what we were talking about. So back to conversation. Let's have a conversation about conversation. So let's say you're in a conversation with just one person, and it fizzles out, and you have that kind of awkward silence in a date. You can ask something similar to just, so what's your story? Or say you're in a job interview, and you can say, so tell me more about what you do here. And what that does is it shows interest in them, and it gets them talking about themselves, and it gets them talking about what interests them. Because remember, the very best conversation anybody will ever be in is one that involves them.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. I keep saying this, and it sounds terrible to say it out loud, but it's actually true. All people, no matter what, are egotistical. They're self-centered to a certain degree. And when you get somebody talking about themselves, that's where their interest lies.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I concur. All right.
I concur. Doctor, do you concur?
Doctor. I want to get my PhD just so I can use that joke. Doctor.
Yeah, you know what? I'm on board with that. I don't even care if I can find a little online place, the web, I don't even care.
Right, exactly.
If I can take some kind of test and get a PhD in something and put doctor, I'm doing it.
I want to get my PhD.
I'll start Googling right now.
So this is actually a true thing. Before we're a little way off topic, but there is actually there are some universities where you can get a PhD in basically a made up thing, right? You can make your own PhD essentially. There's a real lady, and the lady did this. She actually got a PhD in the Klingon language, and she authored the English Klingon dictionary. This is a real lady. So I've decided I want to get a PhD in Doctor Who, so I can be a doctor of Doctor.
A doctor.
She thinks it's a great use of family money to get that PhD.
Yes. Yes, indeed. It's a great way. Let's do that. Let's not prepare for college for our kids. Let's do that.
So number 5 on this list, though, is a big one, and this is something that a lot of people have problems with. And once you get into this habit, this can be a really, really bad habit to get into, which is don't be an energy vacuum. What do we mean by that?
Don't be a vampire.
Right. No, I have no comments there. All right. So by energy vacuum, we've all been in I'm going to move on. We've all been in those conversations where somebody has just come in with just low energy, and they just remove the air from the room, and they just they're not necessarily shy, but they just come in with low energy, and they have no talking points. And no matter how much you try and engage them, there's always like the one word response. There's always that person eventually you run into.
It is brutal.
Right.
Especially when that person's your current wife.
Are you trying to say that my current wife is an energy vacuum, or I am the energy vacuum when she's in the room?
No. I'm not talking about my current wife. There'll be times I'm having a conversation with, like, well, today was a pretty nice day. Yep. What do you want to get done tonight?
Nothing.
I
think that just means she doesn't want to talk to you. That might be saying more about you.
Oh, I am well aware that she doesn't want to talk to me. I'm very low on the list. Another key thing: in life is really knowing where you fit into the equation and where you are on the totem pole. And the key is to understand you're lower than what you thought.
Right.
The other key is to be perfectly okay with that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so you guys bring up some interesting points, and it all comes down to reading the room, right? It comes
Yeah.
down to understanding the energy level of the conversation, because you've also been in conversations where somebody is just too enthusiastic, and you're like, "Hey, bring it down a notch." We're like, "You're at it like an 8, we're at like a 5 at most." So
That means they need to come down to a 7, and you guys need to pick up your shit.
And that's true too. So you can do this. You can propel the conversation. You can propel the
Right.
tone of the conversation. But the most important thing is don't be the energy vacuum, because especially on first impressions. Because look, you may not be getting. It may not give the worst first impression if you're at least engaging somehow, but it definitely doesn't give a good first impression on a job interview, in your marketing, on a date, for Pete's sake. If you're an energy vacuum, guess what? Nobody's going to spend time with you, let alone talk to you or buy your product.
And you know what? There are days, everybody has them. Even I have them. I'm in general a pretty positive looking, not positive looking.
You're very positive looking, David. Don't sell yourself short.
Person. I always look on the bright side of life. Thank you, Monty Python. So that's just who I am. But there are days when it's just not there.
Mm-hmm.
Cancel the meeting, move it, change it.
Right, and that's it too.
Do that because you can recover from that. You go in and you kill it because you are just projecting negativity the whole time. You're done. You're not going to get a second chance.
Right.
There are days where you have to do that. Not many.
Yep.
It happens.
And this is what makes you guys so good at this. Is you've been doing this for so many years. You've trained yourselves. Even when you're having an off day, generally you're still pretty good at engaging, because David, you say you don't do prep work, but your years of experience are your prep work. That's your experience. It's baked into your personality. Yeah. But for like the average person, I mean, there are days when no matter how hard I try, I will never be able to just properly engage the way that I should. And on those days, guess what? I will put my energies towards other uses and engage when I'm feeling more in that space. And those are things you have to remember. It's all about, again, understanding the room. You don't want to come in too energetic. You don't want to come in as an energy vacuum, but you need to be able to adjust as well. How often you walk into a room with one, frame of mind, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to kill this. We're going to come in. We're going to have fun. This is great. And the other person's kind of a downer. And you're like, all right, I'm going to lower the energy. At the same time, you engage. You bring up their energy. Like you said, David, you kind of find that middle ground.
Yep.
What's interesting is I'm going to college now where I've got professors who don't want to lift their energy. Mm-hmm. And a couple of weeks ago, one of the folks, it wasn't a professor, but he said, Matt, you're too much energy, and it's not something about it not being equitable to other students. And he said, you're always pushing the boundary. And I said, I have 20 more youthful years left. They've got a lifetime. Get out of my way.
I use the
David or Matt.
No,
I like to use this in situations like that, brother Matt. There, I say you use this. This is a great saying. I've used it many times in my life. It has really worked out well. Don't be a bitch.
Yes.
You might not want to use that in a job interview. If you're in a job interview and you tell the guy don't be a bitch, that doesn't fly.
If I'm in a job interview and I feel like it's time for me to use that, I don't want the job.
fair point.
I am no longer interested.
You're right. That's probably the right time to use that phrase. You've given up on the job.
I'm not interested anymore. I appreciate your time, but here's some advice for you.
Don't be a bitch.
Don't be a bitch.
At a liberal arts college,
I like that.
Problem, but I like that because the reality is I've got 20 years left. 20.
How old are you?
53.
The life expectancy is older than 70.
You know how hard I have to fight to keep from going into early dementia? I got 20 years.
You're well past dementia.
Well,
come on, man.
It's a whole separate thing. But I'm going to learn every damn thing I can learn there. And if professors aren't keeping up with me, I'll learn it without them. I'm going to learn that place. And then I'll get dementia and forget it.
Fair point.
Anyway, I'm going to.
Then you can learn it again.
Well, it's okay because by the time you graduate, you won't have a job because AI is going to be doing your job for you.
Apparently so.
So we learned all about it today.
So I'm taking advertising graphics as a minor.
You're doing what?
They have a great ad and graphic program there, by the way.
Okay, advertising graphics. Okay.
They produced a West Carnahan.
Look.
Oh, yes.
I don't even go back there anymore because I'm too good for
Well,
them.
I mean, they have your picture on like 7 buildings painted on the outside of them. You're like driving into Cleveland, Ohio, when LeBron James was there, and his picture was all over the place. It's like you go down Columbus, Ohio.
It's
you go to the Columbus College of Art and Design. Boom, West Carnahan all over the place.
It's true. I'm the LeBron James of art school world.
That's because mainly I painted it up.
No, it's not very good.
I'm not the
yes.
or whatever his name is of
He's
art.
Well, you could be the Blanksy.
Yeah, Blanksy.
Blanksy. He'll be Blanksy, the concussed graffiti artist.
The concussed graffiti artist.
That's
graffiti
we're gonna
by
Hey, David, get blanksy.com. That's Matt's new website. All right. So the final the final tip you need to remember. Thank God we're almost done.
Did you get it?
What'd you say?
That was the reason I did that.
What'd you say?
Be unexpected.
Be unexpected. So, David, that was very unexpected.
See?
The final tip is to be unexpected. Well. So again, this kind of goes back to the don't ask single word answer questions, like ask open-ended questions. But also,
I thought you said don't ask, don't tell.
But also, well, first, don't ask, don't tell. It's nobody's business until they bring it to you. But in addition, you need to ask questions that people don't typically hear. Right, that's a big problem you get with interviews. Is a lot of times when people have been interviewed multiple times, they've heard the same question 100 times, or when an interviewer has been going through the process of interviewing employees, and they say, "Do you have any questions?" Typically, they've been asked the same questions 100 different times, or as many people as they've spoken with. You need to think about, David. I know you don't always have to do this, Matt. You might not always have to do this, but when you're preparing for these conversations, you need to think about, what has this person actually been asked before? What haven't they been asked before? What's relevant that they haven't been asked before? And how do I reword things to where they can actually answer it in a different way from how they may have answered something in the past? And that doesn't just go back to engaging them. That goes back to them actively thinking about their answers to you. They're not just reciting back something they've said 100 times. They're actually like, oh, crap, nobody's ever asked me that before. All right, well, let's think about this. It gets them re-engaged, reactivated into that conversation. So all of this sort of ties into these list of things we've spoken about before. Be unexpected. Don't just randomly jump into the room and say, surprise! You need to actually think about what you're going to say.
Do not bust in going, poogity-boo!
Do not ever say that. No.
That's from How I Met Your Mother, episode 1, by the way.
Yeah, that was a great show. That was really good. NPH is amazing.
Yeah, it's Neil Patrick Harris, man. He's absolutely phenomenal. I will give a tip here, and this would go with Matt Harmon in the background there as well. If you, as a salesperson or somebody trying to break in, and you walk into a person's office, and there is a fish on the wall, ask about it. They want to tell you that story.
They really do.
So they really, really do. So I mean, that's a give me right there. That's a give me in the door. If you don't do that, you're going to be the only salesperson who didn't ask them. I don't care whether they've said the story,
but they want to talk about that
story
fish
10 times. They want to tell you that story about it.
They do. So I'm going to go back to a previous point. You know, David, that reminds me of this does actually remind me of something that I don't mean to one-up you, but this is a real thing. There's a company here locally in Columbus, Ohio. I won't say the name of the company because if people found out the CEO of this company who keeps these things in his office, there might be riots. So there's a CEO of a company here in Central Ohio that has taxidermied animals that he's hunted on safaris mounted in his corporate office, but he has a rhino. This is a thing in his office. A taxidermied rhinoceros, a monkey. He killed a monkey, had it taxidermied, and it's in his office. He wants to talk about those things, but I promise you.
Do you think that monkey eats bananas?
I'll bet that monkey was a dick. I'll bet he shot that monkey just.
No. I think it's stuffed.
Well, it's taxidermied, so clearly it is stuffed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could absolutely not get away from that one.
What'd you say?
I walked into an office and there was a lion.
Well, but so the funny thing is do you guys remember a few years ago that dentist who got in trouble for hunting that lion in Africa, and he had riots outside his office?
Oh yeah.
I met this CEO that had a rhino in his office. Was a rhino head, a rhinoceros head in his office, right about the same time that story came out. And I'm just thinking, you know what? If I hated you, I would totally leak this to the press, because there would be riots outside this company. And this is a national level company that's headquartered here in Columbus. So, I mean, look, it's a conversation point. To your point, David, he wants to tell the story about how he hunted and murdered these animals. But Fish is just as good. He murdered that monkey.
Whatever.
You tell me you can't murder a monkey?
All right, if you kill a monkey, you're murdering a monkey. I'll give you that. But a rhino, he's probably charging him.
You're right. The rhino probably had it coming.
Yes. Those rhinos, they'll steal your credit cards.
They will. They're
awful
creatures. They are. They're just they invest in NFTs. They're just not smart creatures. We just lost half our audience there. Sorry.
They invested. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Underdog Journey broadcast for this evening. We have delved into the lovely world of whether monkeys make good investment decisions in NFTs or not. That means we have reached the conclusion of valuable content for you for this evening.
Monkeys don't.
Yeah. David wasn't actively listening in the conversation. Rhinos invest in NFTs. Monkeys are only crypto nerds. So, come on, get it straight. Anyway, yeah, we have been the Underdog Journey, and this has been our conversation about conversations. And next week, we'll have more conversations about AI taking over the world and whether they will or will not.
No.
A, take
no.
non-existent job,
there are
and
only two. No.
So if AI can take over the world, then
Which he
they
can't.
will destroy David Leffingwell. We've been NPR on the Underdog Journey. Wait, the Underdog Journey on NPR. We'll see.
Yes, this is Wes Carnahan, David Leffingwell, and George North.
Jazz hands of the Underdog Journey.
And Matt Harmon, the jazz hands of
Matt the Jazz Hands Harmon.
Matt the Jazz Hands Harmon. There you go. That's your new. That's his thing. That's his.
That's
all right.
it. That's
Somebody
it.
buy
We're gonna get you
jazzhands.com for Matt. And the show's getting weird. That means it's time to sign off. We'll see you guys.
Absolutely.
Next week.
We'll see you next time.
Later.
city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood.